All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Align with Laina. And today is actually part two to the conversation that Shawna L Frances and I had just not even a week ago. And the conversation was so well received. There were so many juicy things about it. And we were so excited to really get to hear each other's journey and how many parallels are there, that we knew we were going to do a part two. But in talking to a few people who had listened to that recording, it was clear that there were some very specific things we needed to expand upon. So again, help me welcome Shawna. I am so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Align with Laina. And I have a feeling we are going to shed light on some things that most people just don't even know about, let alone, talk about and prepare for. So thank you for being here again.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Lina, for having me. And I totally enjoyed our conversation. And I'm really excited to talk about these things that are really quite difficult to hear. So it's good timing. And yeah, let's do this thing.
Well, let's start with that. Why is it difficult for people to really participate in this kind of conversation that you and I have become so comfortable in?
There has been so much that's been misconstrued out there, and it goes all the way back. Just think about how it's going with disclosure, the idea that there are extraterrestrials, non-Earth beings out there, that we are not the only folks here in the universe. Look at what Hollywood has done to this. Look what the media has done to this idea, let alone take it all the way down to this idea of negative reptilians. And yes, they are actually active here on the planet, actively subjugating humanity. So there's so many layers of things you have to understand to get to this point where you can even entertain such a concept as a possibility. And I went through these stages myself. And honestly, Lina, I would have never have given myself the time of day 6, 7 years ago before my awakening. If I'd have seen somebody like me channeling Melchizedek, channeling, first of all, that's a leap you've got to get through. Telepathy, this whole idea that we're all energy. You can go on and on of all the layers of things you need to be okay with to get to this point where you can say, okay, maybe this negative reptilian thing is something I can consider. But I would have never given myself the time of day back in those days. And look at what happened to the likes of David Icke, who really was a pioneer in talking about negative reptilians. And I think we talked about him last time too. It's just we have a tendency to just want to block anything that is so far outside of our comfort zone that you're not even going to entertain it. So, and that's changing very quickly. I can't believe in just the last 4 or 5 years since I've been talking about this concept, how much it's grown into the collective consciousness. Even just 2 years ago, Lina, you're seeing so much more now, and there's so much more acceptance. And I think people are just kind of, it's the Great Awakening. We are becoming aware of all kinds of things. The negative reptilians are still super fringe, but humanity is waking up. We are understanding who and what we are in truth. We're understanding that religion isn't the, be all end all of, what we should know about source and God and hell and heaven. We've really been kept in the dark in a lot of ways, and this is by design. This is by design. So now as light workers, we are busting through those old paradigms, busting through all the old ways of thinking that have kept us in the dark. We are literally awakening from a deep sleep. And we're opening our eyes, and it's bright in here, and we're stretching, and we're wondering what is going on. But I love what you said about, like, okay, this is kind of normal. Yeah, like I'm in this world where this is extremely normal, and I'm surrounded by folks that get it. And, we're all here on the planet, I believe, to bring this information forward and to seed consciousness, collective consciousness. This is the phase of awareness, our guides are saying, the phase of awareness. So here we are, and that's why this is so important.
Well, again, you just said so many amazing things. And, last time we did this conversation, I had taken down my normal posters that I teach from, but I decided to put them back for today's because I use this visual all the time.
Yeah.
And to me, that visual, what it represents is that we're made of energy. And
Yeah.
we come from the expanded all that isness. We're one with that source. And we wind ourselves pretty tight into this one incarnation.
Yeah.
And of course, we do that over and over and over and over again. And last time we talked about, and we kind of jokingly said, why do we come in and do this? But as you were mentioning, we have a veil over our eyes. We don't remember much of what we experienced, what we learned in past lives. And I understand the why that's good, because we would feel totally schizophrenic if we knew every single lifetime that we've had and we were carrying all of that and trying to navigate this
Right.
experience. But as you were saying, it is by design that we have been kept in unawareness. And like you said, we're in a stage of awareness. And what's so exciting to me is that whether it's directly my own guidance that I receive directly, or as I listen to you and to others that I have been following, some for 20 years and 15 and 10, and many that I've only found in the last maybe couple of years, because this is becoming more popular now. It's becoming, it used to be fringe, like you said, David
Yeah.
Icke was out there all by himself
Yeah.
talking about some topics that now you can Google that in YouTube and get 100 channels who are speaking about negative reptilians
Yeah.
in different examples and in different ways, but all speaking basically to the same thing. Something that I started searching not too long ago is I wanted to hear what Christians, are saying. What are they speaking as it pertains to prophecies?
Hmm.
And I'm hearing some of this not necessarily, well, yes, actually one has spoken about negative reptilians, maybe even two, but
Mm.
speak of the negativity, they tend to use the word Satan more
Yeah.
often,
Right.
Lucifer. And
Yeah.
when they describe what these beings have done for thousands of years, I'm going, it's the same thing. Melchizedek is sharing with us. So let's unpack things more specifically, because you and I understand what we're talking about, but I am hoping that this is not just being heard by people who get what we're talking about,
Mm.
rather that this is something that can be sent, shared with people who are relatively new, or maybe they've never heard of this, but we make it uh, easy to listen to because we're just normal women. As
Yeah.
the previous video, we both had corporate careers, we had families, we thought we were doing the right thing,
Yeah.
our children, living our lives, planning for the future and accumulating wealth and doing all those things. And like you said, crossing the I's and um, or crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And we did that. And then all of a sudden we
Yeah.
both pivoted. It's like
Yeah.
we became different people. Something just it inspired us and informed us. And we began to listen to that. And it totally turned our lives, both of our lives, upside down.
Right.
Let's unpack. Let's start with awareness, the face of awareness. And after awareness, let's talk about ascension, and then how the negative reptilian is pertains to that, so that people can be prepared to put these pieces together.
Okay. All right. I want to just go back, and all of this I have channeled directly. And like you, Lina, we didn't go out seeking this information. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist before all this happened. I was just doing my thing, just like you said, living for the weekends, whatever that looked like. So, channeling about this topic now for the last 5 years. I want to just give a little bit of context. We'll go kind of really back in history and just kind of build on this. Okay. 200,000 years ago, if you could believe this, there was Atlantis, there was Lemuria. This what we know as this current species of humanity, this batch of humanity was seeded on the planet along with a species of reptilians, and we were a grand experiment. This is the continuation of a grand experiment, actually, if you can believe this. But imagine putting these two species together. They want to see what happens when we put these two in the sandbox together. Wow. Well, they are a ruthless, kind of cunning, very, very intelligent species. And we, by nature, are more loving and emotional, family-based. I mean, we couldn't be more different in terms of the way we express as a species. So this kind of thing, if you can believe this, again, has been going on for a very long time. The negative reptilians have been on the planet as long as humanity has been here, growing along with us, but molding us, molding this experience to serve their needs. And they are so good at doing this under the radar. But I mean, finally, it's gotten to a point where they've crossed too many boundaries. They have thwarted our free will. They have broken so many universal laws. And it's not just here on Earth, it's many planets and different species and different states of existence outside of Earth. So they're a problem, a quote unquote problem in a lot of spaces. I think the big thing to understand, I mean, first you need to know that the Earth is ascending. Humanity is ascending along with the Earth. We are going from a third dimensional density up to a fifth dimensional density. This is the density of love, of unity consciousness. I think we have a lot of channelers out there and a lot of people doing beautiful work talking about the ascension and talking about the raising of consciousness. Where I'm coming in and what's unique about what I'm doing in terms of my mission is we're bringing this missing link of the negative reptilian regime's influence here that also needs to go away, that needs to be negated, that needs to be, really pushed out with this higher vibration. This is my understanding that ascension is happening. A big reason why it's happening is to rid this plane of existence from the negative reptilian regime. So as I listen to other channels and other sources talk about the ascension, and they'll talk a little bit more about the density or the darkness or evil or Satan, really behind all of that is a negative reptilian regime's agenda, their ability to very kind of quietly under conscious radar work their, manipulation basically to bring this evil here to this planet. By nature, this is not us. This is not humanity. And we're talking about the Bible. This goes way back. The Bible has a lot of symbolism. Many ancient texts and many ancient cultures talk about the serpent, talk about dragons, talk about reptilians. It's in, it's everywhere once you look. Like you're saying, Laina, you can Google this and all of a sudden there's all this information if you are ready to look at it and ready to entertain this as an option. So we are ascending. A big reason why we're ascending is because of this influence here that it's very hard to just, our guides and the other galactic teams, they cannot just come in and remove this from our planet because we are so ingrained with how we do things with that power. Queen Elizabeth, we talked about her last time. The subjugation goes so deep, the manipulation goes so deep that it's our normal. Melchizedek and other guides have just talked about this planet being, we've been in the dark for so long that we have no idea that we're in the dark. It just has become so normal for us. We've just acclimated to this. So as the vibration here raises, as we go along this ascension path, the veil is thinning, more information's coming through from the upper realms. We're able to understand this a little bit better. We're in this phase of awareness. Let's wake up to the fact that we're not alone, that everything is energy, that like you were talking about, we are infinite souls of love and light having a temporary human experience that is very ego-based. And it's not everything. We haven't learned everything. We don't know everything that we are really here to know. And we haven't been ready, and that's been fine, but now we are. We're finally ready. And it's going to take some time, but that's kind of the most important thing I want to say about kind of where the negative reptilian regime fits in with all of what you've been hearing about the ascension.
Yeah, thank you for that broader perspective, because the reason I'm drawn to your work is because I my my work and my lane is to help people understand how the mind, how our egoic mind gets created, how it's made, how it works. And that's why I was guided to learn the teachings, to follow the teachings of A Course in Miracles, because that those specific teachings break down exactly how the ego is created. Now, in the Course in Miracles, it doesn't get into the negative reptilians. It doesn't get into anything like that, because it wants to take the the student, if you will, on a personal journey to understand that we were created by a loving creator. We are part of an intelligence that is, it is what it is. We cannot not be intelligent. We cannot not be eternal. We cannot not be love. We cannot not be infinite. That we cannot not be that. However, we can forget that.
Yeah.
The only way to create the forgetting is through a willful blocking it, meaning using our free will to block our awareness. And what I found so helpful from what you do, what you share, what comes through you, because I believe that everybody that's channeling, everybody that's teaching, as a matter of fact, everybody on this plane, earthly plane, and beyond, everybody is a piece of a grand puzzle. And the more that I expand my mind beyond what I thought was my reality, beyond this tiny little idea, because if we look at this from above, it's a circle. And when
Yeah.
you look, it's wider outside, but it gets really tight and wound up in the middle.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to move out of what we know and expand. Like you said, we don't know it all. And there's so much more to know. But what you teach is so important, because we need to understand, at least this is the way it's come to me, is that as children of a loving source that gave us free will and created us to create, we can create anything we want.
Yeah.
There is no limit to what we can play with. We can play with matches if we want to. We can play with, tree branches. We can play with lollipops. We can play with anything we want to play with. And some beings inside of the realm of infinite possibilities have chosen to play in the denser frequencies, the frequencies of controlling and limitation. And if we don't accept that the creative source is infinite, then we don't really understand what we are dealing with here, because everything is allowed.
Yeah.
And Course in Miracles basically has taught me that everything is allowed. My work is to become the loving presence that can understand what is other than love, can then go through a process of forgiveness, forgive myself for forgetting that it's all permissible, forgive the other for the things that they've done, and then transcend that. So I can choose that if I'm done playing in the low vibrations, that I can shift. I can move. I can expand out on that spiral. And you were talking about Mother Earth ascending. And then, of course, so there's the awareness of what we are. And all my work, before I even understood what the word awareness was, I was told, you're going to teach about the power of awareness, help people become aware of their ego and their God self. And that's it. But so there's that awareness piece, but then there's the ascension piece. We are ascending as we choose to change our mind about things. We're expanding our awareness, and as we expand our awareness, we are ascending. And ascension is not just up; it's all the way around.
Mm.
It's just it's a comprehensive expansion.
Yeah.
Share more about your understanding of ascension and Mother Earth's role with it. Actually, let me just say something you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You said it briefly, but you said, Hollywood has done quite the job of helping us understand or have an idea of what off-planet beings are all about.
Yeah.
And that's so important when we understand the manipulation that has been taking place, we have to understand that some of it, if not all of it, at least most of it, I'll be generous here, most of it was done deliberately to keep us in the dark, to scare the crap out of us,
Yeah.
have the scary aliens out there in all these movies so that we wouldn't be curious enough to go find more benevolent beings. Um, but anyways, with that recognition that yes, Hollywood movies, books, songs have played a part in filling our minds with misinformation. How do you see humanity now? Where are we in our process, just kind of overall? And then specifically, how are we learning and how are we moving through this ascension process? And as well, tie in Mother Earth as you brought her up.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it's a lot, sorry.
I'll try. Yeah, let me know if I don't answer some of this, but so we'll kind of start with this idea that we've been asleep. And for good reason. We come here, we forget because it gives us a very incredible experience to really test who and what we are in truth. You know, if you forget that you are one with your brothers and your sisters and that it's not all love and light, when you forget that you are love and light, you get down here and you really are tested. So imagine that just a lot of subjugation, a lot of sleep happening now. Well, Melchizedek has said we're beginning of a 1,000 year cycle where it's going to take from now and to another 1,000 years for this earth to be fully 5D. So it's really the blink of an eye in the larger scheme of things. But for humanity, it seems like forever. But really, that's why we have so many people channeling right now. The veil's thin, the vibrations raising. We are waking up. It is the great awakening. And it's just perfect timing for it. But the sleeping part of us and this and our experience here, all that's crumbling. You know, like you're talking about the mass media, you've got what, 5 or 6 big corporations, really, you know, a handful of men running our media right now, and it is highly controlled and it's coordinated across the board here. So the narrative is always being controlled and it's always being pumped at us, and we kind of sit back and we absorb it. Well, that's all crumbling. That's all falling apart. People are starting to wake up and see that this is not the truth and that we are being fed a bunch of fear-based messages, and it just gets reinforced through social media. And, you know, keeping us all separate and keeping us all fighting and keeping us all afraid is exactly what the negative reptilian regime wants to do, because we don't have power when we are asleep like that and when we are in a fear state. And you may ask, well, why would the negative reptilians even want to subjugate humanity? What is the whole point of that? And I mean, like you're saying, it's like it's complex here. There is a lot going on here. But number one, they thrive on our fear energy. If you know that everything is energy, that as a collective, as a planet, as a species, we can create an extreme amount of fear energy. And that is what they thrive on. They thrive on this. They're also power hungry and greedy and conniving and very intelligent, and they just love this idea. They've made a sport of this, of doing all this without us being aware. So we're the sheep here, they're the wolf, and they have just snuck in and infiltrated all of our. Melchizedek would say that any group that has any kind of power has been infiltrated by people who are under the negative reptilian, you know, manipulation, and it's very much an energetic thing and it's under the radar. So it's like they're hiding in plain sight. But once you kind of get a taste for recognizing where this is operating in our world, you can't unsee it. You cannot unknow it. You cannot unsee it. And I imagine for you, Laina, like, you know, Course in Miracles, what a beautiful text. And they don't talk about the negative reptilians in there. And then, you know, here you start finding these things and it's resonating with you. You know, that is, they hate this idea. They don't want this to happen. But we are waking up to the truth of what's going on here. All right, so that's kind of where we're at right now. The veil is thinning. More information's pouring onto the planet. As we are being born, like the younger generations are more connected to source than ever before, and they come in already very much connected and understanding this at deep levels. So as we progress with these different generations, it is going to get better. We are going to incarnate. You and I will incarnate, and we will bring a lot of what we know in terms of consciousness with us as we incarnate. So that is also helping with this awakening process. Melchizedek has also talked about, they kind of lament that this is the end of the age of innocence for humanity, where we have just been so ignorant to this kind of subjugation, and that's now going to go away. And it's going to be really hard as a collective to come to grips with this. And there'll be a lot of people that never do, and that's okay. They weren't meant to kind of be a part of this or understand it or fight it, directly like some of us here are meant to do and be on the planet. So, it's the end of the age of innocence right now, and we're going to move deeper and deeper into this. And the negative reptilians are going to escalate their whatever they're doing that's negative to help keep us asleep. As the light here ratchets up, their efforts ratchet up as well. So you're going to see this intensity on both sides, the dark and the light, as we progress through this ascension process. And Melchizedek, just recently, my channeling from just a few days ago, we're talking about Revelation. We're talking about Armageddon. We're talking about the end times. This is the beginning of those end times. And there's a lot of really scary imagery in Revelation. And Melchizedek wrote Revelation. They called themselves an angel, and they appeared to John in the book of Revelation and provided all this extremely detailed and kind of gory, imagery about the end time. So we're just starting to peel the layers here and understand what's in Revelation. But they're talking about this very next 100 years is really going to be tough. We're going to continue to see an escalation of what we've got going on now in terms of this subjugation. More advanced weaponry, continued warring, continued famine, continued serious environmental effects like hurricanes, earthquakes, forest fires, these kinds of things. But at the same time, things are collapsing. Look at what's happening to religious institutions. Look what's happening to our politics. These, the financial institutions are supposed to be also crumbling, within a fairly relatively short amount of time, according to Melchizedek. So they've asked everybody to start preparing. So, man, Laina, I think the next 100 years here, it sounds like it's going to be a continuation of kind of where we're at today, but even more intense. And the light work that we do here, knowing what's going on, knowing the truth of who and what we are, and that we are in choice and we are powerful light bringers, is going to be so supremely important as we continue to walk through this path, kind of fighting this darkness. It's intense. So I think I've covered it. So next 100 years, that's what's going on. It's really 1,000 years. And to be honest, from 100 years into the next 900 years, it's a little fuzzy for me. But there is going to be a point where it's going to be almost like a splitting of consciousness on the planet. We're going to have those who have chosen kind of to continue on the path of kind of more density, 3D. You're going to have those who have chosen to go on the path of light, more toward 5D. But at some point closer to this 1,000-year mark, the Earth will go through a massive resurfacing, and it's absolutely has to happen to get to that higher vibration. It's literally a shakeup. If you imagine, scientifically a raising of vibration, there is a shaking that's going on, a vibration that will cause a lot to collapse on the surface. But they've got a plan for this, and then this Earth's going to be at its 5D stage without any of the negative reptilians, and we will have heaven on earth, and we will be at a 5D unity consciousness. We will have an absolute beautiful balance between light and dark. Right now, we are very much skewed to the dark here. We are going to have a new balance that's going to be kind of 50% light, 50% of kind of more the pure darkness. All these things, like you said, Laina, we get to experience that, and we can choose that to learn as souls of light on this ascension journey or on a path of evolution. So this is a lot of talking, so I'm hoping I'm kind of hitting most of the things because there's so much here. Anyway, yes.
You did a fantastic job, tying all of these pieces together. And I want to come in with my perspective to shore up what you're saying and why the individual work is so important, because I believe that what you bring in is a very macro understanding And my uh, piece in all of this is a very micro understanding. And again, it goes back to the Course in Miracles. So the Course in Miracles speaks to, while we are in this human experience, while we believe that we're separate from one another and have this third dimensional experience, the best that we can do here is understand who we are and recognize that we chose to be here, that we are creators. And instead of reacting to what's happening, and this is where it ties into this negative reptilian influence, which I want to talk about it more from a practical perspective. What does that mean? But as I began to understand that influence that we have been under, it allows for us to not know who we are and really completely forget that we are creators of this reality.
Oh, yeah.
So with that from A Course in Miracles, I was able to begin to look at, okay, what have I done? And one of the most important things is to assume 100% responsibility that everything that happens in your life, you called it to you.
Yeah.
The spiritual community uses that, oh yeah, I'm created my reality, and it's sounds wonderful until it's time to face the darkness, because then it's like, no, 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 cancel the dark. I'm only looking at the light.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
On what is perfect and beautiful, and I've already had enough trauma in my life. Now all I want to do is focus on the good and the light. As a matter of fact, I had an experience with a big group of spiritual women that I was inside of this community on Facebook. And I mentioned something about politics about maybe 6 years ago, and they're like, we don't talk politics here. And this is only a happy place. And I thought, okay, I respect, yes, we need to have spaces where we can go be happy.
Mhm.
But if there is something that we cannot look at because it's too dark, we are under the influence,
Mm.
still under that influence that makes looking at what is dark somehow weak, or it's like you're going to get sucked back into that.
Yeah.
But the importance of A Course in Miracles for me is to claim my sovereignty, to take responsibility. And when I began to apply that to what I was observing in the world that I didn't like that my marriage was falling apart. I didn't like that my son was doing drugs. I didn't like that, financial things were happening and housing market busted while I was a realtor, and
Right.
my finances go. I didn't like all those things that were happening. And you're telling me I create my reality? Why would I create what I don't like? Well, that's when I began to realize that if we don't face the darkness and really start with, how could I have contributed to that?
Ah,
That's when I began to see how I have been permitting such evil on this planet. The first way is through paying taxes that support and fund these things that are not to my liking. But I was too busy making money. So I mean, I'm sending you my money over here, and Mr. and Mrs. Government, you guys make all these decisions, and I'll just keep living my life over here. And it's you
yeah.
know I'm making it fluffy over here. I'm rearranging the furniture on the Titanic. And in the meanwhile, the Titanic is going down because I'm contributing to it through the funding of it and through my lack of awareness of what's happening. And
Yeah.
that's when I began to understand, wow, I give these people power. The education system, the medical system, the political system, the religious system. When I realized that I was afraid of God, I had to sit with, well, why am I afraid of God? It was so easy to say because the church taught me to fear God. And then I had to go, well, who gives church power?
Yeah.
I decide I'm not going to be afraid of God. I lose the fear of God. So, what you're saying, this 1,000 years matches so perfectly with A Course in Miracles, not because they speak of 1,000 years, but they say it's going to take time to undo what we created over time.
Yeah.
So many concepts like time doesn't exist, but when
Mhm.
we enter the third dimension, we condense our experiences into linear time so that we can have a very singular experience.
Yes.
So I'm in total agreement. The next 100 years, this is just from my own personal knowingness, is going to be bumpy. However, in that 100 years, I'm so glad that you said this, we're going to see a splitting. And the way that I understand it is because we have free will, and we're creating whether we recognize that we're creating or not. We are saying yes to anything that we decide, oh, I'm not going to look at that. We're saying yes to that
Yeah.
because it's still in our field.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing happening is, looking at that spiral, those who want to have a darker experience, meaning they don't want to wake up. They don't want to face the darkness. They don't want to take responsibility. They want somebody else to fix it. They're saying yes to contracting and giving up more of their power.
Yeah.
Those who are taking responsibility are going, okay, this is a piece of something bigger. What else is there? Are saying yes to expansion. So we're bifurcating. Some are going to ascend, some are going to go into deeper contraction.
Yeah.
And what the Course in Miracles has helped me get is that the loving creator doesn't mind, doesn't judge, allows anything to happen, because we are totally free to explore in this infinite realm, which I call a playground.
Yeah.
So say more about how the teachings of Melchizedek have helped you navigate this process of facing darkness, and what has that looked like for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You've also brought up so many good points. I would say, first and foremost, it's to not judge others who are experiencing life through that darker lens, and know that we've all done that. Even though we have chosen the light for this lifetime, or maybe our oversoul is on a light path, there are just other souls who are not. And, we have been the murderer. We've done stealing. We've all the things that you might look at and think these are bad. We've all done these things. So you really, boy, everybody is in the likeness of source. Everybody is here in lesson. And so not to have judgment for those who have chosen differently than you, so important. And I love Laina talking about, let's look at this stuff. That's what Melchizedek is all about. Let's, you knowing yourself as this incredible infinite being of love and light and the image of source means that everybody is that too, not just you. It's not that you're special. We're all special. And really understanding that so deeply, so you can look at anybody and witness them in their light and witness them in their truth, and authentically kind of meet them where they're at. But this whole shunning, and I get it. I mean, I get it. I was part of that thing too. Like I understand that feeling, like, well, that's bad, that's wrong, this is good, this is right. And it's just really not like that. This is a playground, like you said. This is the school of hard knocks. The guides have literally said that, the school of hard knocks. This is not for the faint of heart, they say. We really wanted to be here badly because of this contrast, because you can experience everything. We're emotional beings. We love so hard and we cry so hard. We are super expressive in that way, and not all species are like that. Not
Yeah.
everybody gets this. These are our superpowers, our emotions and our ability to love, our ability to hate and experience everything in between is part of our superpowers. So, we really, yeah, you want to, like, let's just honor that. So, I used to have this thing where, like, there's a lot of homeless here in Portland. And I would think, oh, those poor people, even that is a form of judgment. Even that is not honoring where they're at and what they've chosen to do. Like, feeling sorry for them is like, you really want to check that. You want to take a look at that from what Melchizedek would say, the upper room. There but for the grace of God go I, or whatever that is. Like, they are choosing this. I may have chosen that myself at a certain point to learn that way. So it's just incredible to understand that everybody that you can ever lay eyes on is in lesson and has chosen that path and are exactly where they need to be at this point. So yes, this splitting off, this bifurcation's happening. So not being at all in judgment for all those that are No thanks. I'm going to stay over here. I'm a newer soul than you or whatever, or I'm just not quite done learning at this level and I'd really like to do this. Thank you very much. Wonderful. You go do that. I'm going to do this and I'm responsible for me. That's the other thing. Here's another, lesson that I've learned. I was just thinking like, okay, we need to fix what's going on in the Middle East, or we need to fix what's going on here in Ukraine. We need to fix this. And, it's like all this outward stuff. But really the way that I'm understanding experience here and our existence is that it's all within us. Our worlds are within our consciousness. So if I want to live in that world where I am just focused on all the horrible things that are going on the planet, which the negative reptilians are, it's exactly what they want us to do. Like you can do that. You can be miserable and you can be just so sad for what's happening in here, just feel hopeless. Or you can kind of choose to be outside of that field and outside of that energy and not have that be a big part of your world. It's like I can have compassion and I can be honoring where everybody's at and understand the bigger picture that we've got this incredible negative reptilian influence here that's really skewing our experience here, but it's still a great place for learning. And it's a great place to understand who and what we are in truth. We clamored to be here. We wanted to be here badly. And there's a bunch of folks waiting to come down to the planet. And they, you kind of raise your hand and say, you go down. And you're like, I've got this. Then you get down here like, I hate this. So, but truly it's so beautiful that's what I love about this time that we're in, because I do have sense of past lives where it's been so dark and I've, suffered horribly, and to get to this point. And my teams of light have said that, Shawna, you've earned where you're at right now. You've earned this light. You've earned your wings. You've really done some massive suffering. Luck, I feel so lucky, but they're like, luck has nothing to do with this, dear one. Like you've worked hard to be to this point, and not everybody is there. So, and that's fine. So we just do what we can, knowing that we're working within this paradigm that's more of a school of hard knocks, and bringing love and light and being that beacon, even when it looks like everything is falling apart. It's not. That is an illusion of the mass media and all this narrative that's being shoved down our throats. It's not all horrible. And it doesn't have to be horrible for you personally. You can really choose an existence that is more in alignment with your truth and non-judgmental and, in alignment with a higher truth here. It's not easy. It's consciousness. Look at, you had the Course in Miracles. That took me 3 years to read that book. I had to read like 3 pages at a time, and I was like, whoa, so incredibly dense. So I commend you. And then you're living that and you're teaching it, and you've got all these lessons queued up, like all the lessons in the back of that book. Wow. So that self-empowerment, this experience is within us. It's not about fixing anything out there or anybody out there. It is just about what can I do? What kind of light can I bring? How can I serve?
Yeah, exactly. And the whole point of that spiral is to understand that at the higher frequencies of love, we all choose to descend and enter into being one expression of that love, being one expression of God. And of course, on this planet, we have 8 billion people who chose to incarnate to express whatever they're expressing. Of course, they fall in every single dimension,
Yeah.
potential of frequency. But one of the things that's always to me fascinating, and of course, this chart is I use Dr. David Hawkins' Power versus Force, his map of consciousness, because he did kinesiology and calibrated the different levels of consciousness. And then Esther Hicks through Abraham gave us the scale of emotions.
Mm.
But right here in the middle is the frequency of courage. And people think, okay, you look at this and it takes courage to move out. But what you have to understand is it takes courage to come in.
I love that, Lina.
That same frequency that we had courage to come into this world, be born as an
So brave. Yes.
yeah, very brave. So when I
Mm.
look at my grandbabies, I'm like brave souls who incarnated
Yeah.
at the time. But it's that courage that we have to tap into. And most people that are operating in fear can't quite get to courage because they're disempowered, they're powerless, they're depressed. That is where we have to understand the influence of the negative reptilians.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk a little bit more about that and share our understandings, because you started off by saying in way back in really our history books don't take us to the real beginning. They take us to the convenient beginning. But you were talking about two totally different races.
Yeah.
One race that is so loving, the human race is such a loving, gentle, really it's natural to care about others.
Yeah.
And then this reptilian race that is more slithering, hiding, looking for a prey and attacking and getting what I need out of it, and then discarding after what I took.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we understand God's way of doing things, loving, and the ego's way of doing things, which is fear-based, it gave me more of an understanding that the reptilian aspect is really anything that is more service to self, not caring about anything else. And the human is really more, how can we all get along? I'm watching with what's happened in North Carolina, the disasters with Hurricane Helene. The average person out there trying to do their best to help their neighbors. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's everything, but they're still helping. That is the essence of the human. That is totally opposite to somebody who operates in service to self. And it doesn't matter if they're in government, if they're in the medical field, if they're in the corporate arena, if they're in the monarchy. Anything that seeks to serve itself, to me, is already in under the influence of the ego, lower frequencies. And when we move into that egoic frequency, it only shows up in one of two ways: bully or victim.
Mm.
That is it. So it needs, the bully needs a victim, but
Yeah.
that bully cannot be a bully if it wasn't first a victim.
Interesting. Yes.
All of those lower frequencies are, we're playing with that. It took a lot of courage to enter into the third dimension, to play the victim and the bully and continue lifetime after lifetime swapping roles. So that side is serving itself to experience those lower densities. And to me, the reason there's an opportunity to ascend is that there's enough of us. We don't want to play that game anymore.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in selfishness. We don't want to support greed and service to self. It's just like, it's not enjoyable anymore. But that comes from discovering that there's more than chasing the almighty dollar and acquiring and becoming and putting on this facade so you can see that I've arrived. Those that are disillusioned with the how things should be to be successful want to ascend. We want to play a lighter game. Course in Miracles says that's the happy dream. We all get along because we're all operating from love. There's no need to lie. There's no need to cheat. We've done the inner work. We've healed. We've purged our density. We purified ourselves. But those who want to continue to feed off of others and just operate in darkness and in secrecy, they can still have a playground here.
Hmm.
Have to decide which side are we going to be on, not because one is good or bad, but because if you're done playing one, you just want to now try the other one. It's very much a free will decision. But this negative influence, we need to understand what that is so that we can make that choice.
I
Share
love that.
your
Yeah.
experience with that negative influence and what does it look like for you?
I feel like it's yeah, you may start on a path of where you want to go, but the negative reptilian influence is like a sticky tar on that path that just wants to just make it like you got to slug through this to get to where you're wanting. That's a place that's a little more light, a little more love based because we there is so much indoctrination. There is so much control and influence and manipulation. And a lot of us are in accord with that vibrationally, whether we understand that or not. But now is the time, like you said, a lot of us don't want to do that anymore. We've been there, done that. We've learned through that way. We came down here to really help help with the ascension, help bring light, help bring a new paradigm, help bring the new earth to fruition. And so we come down here and we're still, it's really hard to wake up. It's hard to open those eyes and to kind of really see this. And it starts with that self-love. So you're not just stuck kind of like in survival mode and where the ego's controlling everything, but having the wherewithal to kind of take a deep breath and like, I know I'm more and I love this thing unconditional. I love everything about what I have going on and I care about myself. I care about this path. I am going to take a chance here. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to peek over here and see what's going on. I'm going to get off that path that's sticky and I'm going to do this whole other pathway. Possibly it looks like that for someone. But this influence here, it's just like this dense field that we're all trying to operate within. And it just makes that awakened consciousness harder to get to. And look what we went through to have for our guides to wake us up. A complete 180 in our lives to it was like a shaking, like you came here for a reason. Don't forget, you've forgotten. You're ready. Now you're ready to wake up. And I think for a lot of people this happened, especially like over COVID. There's just a lot of things like light bulbs started going off for people. They started questioning things. They decided I had to get out. Maybe you're stuck in a terrible job. You're stuck in a terrible marriage. You're stuck with whatever your financial situation might be. All these things you have created somehow for yourself. You're not a victim. So it's like that, again, that self-love and like more self-empowerment and understanding how we create our realities. You got to understand that. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to choose differently. It's like the awareness that we're going through right now, this awakening will be allowing us to be more in choice. We can't be making choices when we didn't realize there was a choice to be had. We didn't, how can you fight the negative reptilian regime's influence when you don't even know about it? How can you step out of your situation that's holding you back when you don't realize you have other options? I think these are the light bulb moments going on for people, and it had gone off for me too. We have choice here. We can do different. We don't have to just fall in line. You're going to, go to high school, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a job, you're going to pay your taxes, you're going to have 1 week of vacation a year, you're going to marry, you're going to have kids, you're going to play this role as a mom, you're going to play this role as a wife, you're going to be the caretaker, you're going to be the nurturer, here's what you're going to do in work. Like there's just all these things that are, and then you're going to retire and then you're going to die because you've burned your body out and you have no reason to live because you've sunk everything into this identity around work or whatever that looks like. It's kind of cliche, but everybody has seen this happen in real time. So yeah, if that's answering your question, I think it's just like this path of loving yourself first, then being able to love all others, and that unity that we actually do share, waking up to that, knowing it to be true and living it is extremely hard here. And it takes a lot of courage. And, look at where, the crazy ones. I get to be the crazy one to talk about negative reptilians. I'm totally good with it. Bring it on. I'm ready. I'm raising my hand, say, I will talk about this. And I'll be that crazy one so so the generations behind me can have a better time with this. I believe this wholeheartedly, what's coming through me from Melchizedek, the Galactic Federation of Light, and other channels. I don't think I'm being fooled here. I do have a deep resonance with the information that's coming through, but beyond all that, it is not about fear. It is about love. That is the bottom line here. So if you are consuming information that seems very fear-based and, us versus them or any of that, really question that. Make sure you're in your discernment. Have your little spidey sense going off like, is that resonating in my heart space or is that making me afraid? So Melchizedek with the negative reptilians and this messaging has been very clear. This is about love and awareness, and it's about negating that influence and taking our power back.
And that's the key right there. When we take our power back, we get off of the treadmill that we have been on, doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And back to the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles says that the ego is insane. We keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. That's insanity.
Yeah.
Let's talk about practical examples of why we want to do this, and maybe a way that we saw something that allowed us to shift out of fear into love. And I'll share, for me, an example has actually been with politics. And I've never participated in one party or the other. I've voted for every single party, independents, Republicans, Democrats, I forget all the Green Party, libertarian parties, because I always voted for who I thought would be the best person to move us further along. But for me, during the elections 2016, that's when I was able to see behind the veil of the political parties, the agendas of manipulation, selecting candidates, and basically just doing some things that when I began to pay attention was absolutely not only not democratic, not loving at all, very underhanded, very manipulative and conniving, but all the while telling us that this is a party of democracy.
Mm.
As I was looking at that, first I had to stop judging them because I had to say, okay, where have I done that? I had to own it for myself. So once I got myself to right here, neutrality, because when we get, it takes courage to get neutral, it takes courage to
Yeah.
not judge and begin to look at what was happening. Then I began to pay attention. Well, if I want something different, I really got to look at this from a very different perspective and began to do a lot of research and look at things. And I realized that by choosing to go against the norm, especially in my circle of spiritual people, I was doing something that felt the most loving for me to move this world in on the path of creating an enlightened civilization where we can be free, where we actually abide by our just even what's in the Constitution, which I believe part of the Bill of Rights was channeled, that all men are created equal, endowed by the Creator with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Miracle says our purpose is to be happy,
Yeah.
have eternal life, and we have free will. So it's like life, liberty, happy. Oh, that's all in the Course in Miracles. I realized that it was an act of self-love to begin to do some research because I recognized that I was making choices, had been making choices emotionally, fear-based, and selfishly. And then all of a sudden, as I began to, okay, let me stop and look and let me research, let me look at both sides, I began to see that there is a path that is better, not the best one yet, but definitely better. And it was loving towards me, towards my children, towards my grandchildren, and something that I learned from Cryon. I'm pre-paving the next lifetime I'm going to incarnate into.
Yes, you are. Yes, it's a continuum. Absolutely.
It's a circle.
You've been working at this for a long time, Lina. Yeah.
So to be able to see things that we just know are not okay,
Yeah.
we feel it, and then what can I do about it? That is how I began to experience self-love, that I really cared myself enough to pull myself out of the hamster wheel and keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. What was an example of something that you saw? Okay, I cannot continue down that path. I need to change things. That was an act of self-love that it's part of you putting your teachings into practice.
Mm. I'd say judging others has been a huge lesson. That and letting go of control, and just surrendering to something just so much bigger than this experience as Shawna L Frances on this planet, and just letting go of all my things that help me feel like I had a measure of control, a measure of comfort, stability, predictability, throwing those kind of things out and then seeing what comes as part of that, what doors might open if I let go of this need to control every aspect of my life. I mean, I was a project manager. I was an account manager. I was in marketing. We worked with data. I was so proud of that, like my accomplishments at work and the corporate life, which is very fear-based. You're panicking all the time because your competition's going to blast you out of the water at any point. You're going to step on somebody's toes or whatever all those things are. Like, it's like For me, it was having the ability to say yes to such an incredibly different path with bravery and just like, okay, if I let go of the steering wheel, everything's not going to fall apart. And I'd put myself kind of in the nucleus of my family and my friends, and I was organizing all of our family outings and every barbecue and every birthday and everything at work I was managing. I mean, I was just buzzing all the time with cortisol. Like that was just, I was drinking off that like coffee every day. So I'm here, living testament that you don't have to control every aspect of your life to have a fulfilling life. In fact, it's better if you kind of allow things to happen with you, for your highest good, and get out of your own way. So I think, and then I think just the judging now that I am kind of experiencing some really incredibly crazy things, wonderful things that are so outside the norm, I would have judged somebody like me back then. And I am really trying to let go of that. Like, really honoring where everybody is at, like the homeless people or, the people you see are going to jail for whatever reason, all the things, there's no bad here. Everybody is in lesson, and being open to that idea and to be open to loving unconditionally, loving myself unconditionally, not from a place of pride, but from a place of truth. And once I'm there for me, I can be there for you. I can see you in your truth and I can witness that. But yeah, at a certain point, we don't need to be so miserable. We don't need to be so fear-based. How do we face our own demons? How do we bring that self-love in? And it starts with not judging yourself. Self-judgment, we're our own worst critics. On the flip side of that is not also being a victim. You don't want to play that victim card or that victim role. That's just an awareness thing. Like, oh, I have created this. Okay, I can own this now. Now I know I actually have some free will here, and I'm sovereign and free, and I can make choices outside of what the norms are now. I'm going to do this for my highest good. So, yeah, those are a few things.
Yeah, but those are so important, and they're all pieces. We do the inner work, and then we can look at the outside and work with the outside to transmute some of the what we were giving power to. But coming back inside and recognizing we have the power to change things.
Yeah.
And again, another conversation packed, and there's so many other areas that we could go to, but I know you're getting ready to go on a trip tomorrow.
Okay.
So we wrap this up here, and I'm sure we can get back together. But tell people how they can find you, and also share a little bit about that you're channeling a book, because you've let me see a little bit of what you have started, just the first few pages, and I'm telling you, it's perfect for this time, for
Mm.
those who are ready, like in that movie, A Few Good Men. If you can handle the truth, that is going to put pieces of the big puzzle together, not the little minutia, even though it's going to make more sense, but the big pieces of the puzzle so that we understand the massive mission that we're all on.
I'm so glad to get your feedback on the book. I am so excited about it because it is going to be that bigger picture, and we'll also get down to the detail. And it's for that audience member like you're talking about at the very beginning, who's kind of outside of the knowing. It's somebody who may be really new to this or may have an inkling. Everybody will find the book just as they are meant to. You pick this thing up, it's for good reason. You want to trust all of that. But yeah, this book is going to be incredible. It's 100% channeled by Melchizedek. It is really their work. And I have the honor of putting this together. It's about halfway done. And it's just a matter of making some time for the channeling and keeping on that. I'm going to say another 3 months or so. I'm hoping it will be done, and I'll be publishing that next year, and hopefully be able to promote it and go ahead and be that crazy person. Well, David Icke was really this is going to be less crazy as time goes. I feel pretty good about where we sit right now. You can find me on YouTube is my biggest body of work right now. So all my videos are free. I've got over 400 videos I've channeled on the Ascension and on the negative reptilians and many, many other beautiful topics of love and self-empowerment for a long time. And I do one-on-one sessions with people. You can find me at shawnalfrances.com. I've got a Facebook group as well, Starseed Lifestyle with Shawna L Frances. That's about all I do. I'm not on Instagram yet. I just can't. I can't do all of it. It's just too much. All of that stuff needs care and feeding, and I'm making a video each week, sometimes a couple videos in a week, and I'll do live channeling events and host retreats in Mexico, and yeah, so that's basically what I've got going on right now, and it's a lot. It's perfect.
And you are just one of those people that is so generous, like you said, with the content that you put out there. That is just so helpful. And for anybody who wants to follow my work, lineorlando.com. And like Shawna, I put a lot on YouTube. I probably have like over 600 videos. And I like to help explain what A Course in Miracles is about. And I like to use charts to make it simple to understand what's going on, because I have found, for me, I'm visual, so I share in a visual way. Um, we will get together again. I know
I
that
would love to, because Lina, I mean, we have to have these dialogues. We are seeding consciousness just by having this conversation. Even if nobody witnessed this conversation, we are seeding consciousness. That is how powerful we are. And start working on that collective level here. So I thank you so much for your bravery, for having me on your show, and mixed in with all this beautiful work you're doing with the Course in Miracles. I just love it. And I would be delighted to speak again anytime.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful trip. And I look forward to hearing more about your incredible adventures.
Thank you, Lina.
Thank you to the audience. Appreciate you guys.